Hello everyone, welcome to the second episode of the SaaS Academy Tech Track. In this episode, we will be talking about data strategy, how to achieve portability in cloud with OSS. Please check in on today's event if you have not already done so. The check-in link is on the screen, which is aka.ms/reactor-check-in, and the event ID is 14565. You can also scan the QR code. It will take you directly to the check-in page. By checking in, you get access to all the event resources. My name is Rav, and I am the program manager at Reactor London. You can find all our upcoming events on the Microsoft Reactor website. Before we get into the session, please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We are all here to learn, so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, and be kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat is going to be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. Also, I would like to mention that this session is recorded and will be available to view on the Microsoft Reactor website within the next 24 hours. And with that, please let me introduce you to Pablo, who will introduce the SaaS Academy Tech Track. Over to you, Pablo.
Thanks a lot, Rav. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining in. I'm Pablo Casabon, UK SMB Product Marketing Manager for Azure. Welcome to the SaaS Academy. This is a joint program brought to you by Microsoft Western Europe, Microsoft United Kingdom, and the Microsoft Reactor. SaaS Academy was inspired by our CEO's vision that every company is becoming a software company, and it is your chance to deep dive in the latest Microsoft technologies and learn more about the future of SaaS from Microsoft experts, partners, and customers. If you want to contact the SaaS Academy team, please write an email to saas-academy@microsoft.com. And before I introduce our distinguished speaker, Alicia Kucharczyk, who will be addressing how to achieve portability in cloud through OSS, I wanted to share a quick video on what SaaS Academy is all about.
Did you know that every business will eventually become a software business? Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella not only made that prediction, but also continues to lead Microsoft to SaaSify its portfolio. With SaaS solutions, you can grow your business and make even sophisticated enterprise applications like ERP and CRM affordable if you lack the resources to buy, deploy, and manage your infrastructure and software. So, how to get started with SaaS? That's why we created the Microsoft SaaS Academy. It is your chance to deep dive into the latest Microsoft technologies and learn more about the future of software as a service from Microsoft experts, partners, and customers. Our SaaS Academy was designed with a business track and a tech track to provide companies like yours with the SaaS knowledge that fulfills their needs. Our business track covers the SaaS fundamentals, whether you are a cloud-native company or a traditional software provider, while the tech track addresses technical aspects of building a SaaS solution, including SaaS architecture, DevOps, and sustainable software engineering. You can get started with SaaS in the same time it would take you to build a Microsoft PowerPoint about it. Ready to accelerate your journey to SaaS? Don't miss our upcoming webinars and join the Microsoft SaaS Academy now.
Perfect. So I have the honor to introduce Alicia. Alicia works at Microsoft as EMEA Global Black Belt OSS Data Tech Specialist. She's a PostgreSQL expert, both experienced developer, administrator, and coach, with strong practical knowledge of Linux and their mutual interactions. She is interested in performance optimization at different levels and has consulted with a lot of companies, mainly in Poland, providing them working solutions and providing them in the architecting, deploying, and maintaining PostgreSQL. She's the founder and organizer of Warsaw PostgreSQL Users Group, where Polish users gather, speakers and local user groups gather for conferences. And she's a big advocate for PostgreSQL and open source and all different ways. So that's professionally. In her spare time, she is usually seen with 2 dogs, 13 and 19 years old, and writing games in Python. So Alicia, thank you so much for being here with us. It is an honor. Over to you.
Thank you, Pablo, for a great introduction. And what you see behind me, it's actually, those are not my dogs, but the Postgres elephant costume as part of that, so the head of it. So happy to talk to you today about Postgres on Azure. Hope you see my screen.
Yeah, all good.
Cool. So let's start with a quick overview. So when most of the people think about data and Azure, so data on Azure, probably the first term or technology that comes into your mind is SQL Server. And of course, this is true. We've got a great offering on Azure about SQL Server, but that's not all. We also have a huge offer of the open source technologies, open source databases on Azure in the PaaS model. I will be focusing today, because of my background and the costume that I've got behind, on Postgres. And starting from one of my favorite tweets, you probably all are familiar with the Kelsey Hightower. For those of you who are not, he's kind of the celebrity in the Kubernetes world. And what he said is, Postgres is what happens when tech gets so good for so long, it becomes boring. And I totally do agree with that. So what I do understand by boring, and what I do think that Kelsey do understand by boring, Postgres is a rock solid technology that is mature, it's developed for years. You can absolutely rely on this technology. This is highly reliable data storage. So Azure makes the technology even more boring, because when we are talking about the core of Postgres, we need to know that in core we've got only the basic functionalities. So for instance, there is no backup tool in the core Postgres, there is no HA in the core Postgres. So the Postgres core is very neat and small. And if you need something more, if you need to extend the functionalities, you've got thousands of extensions you can add to Postgres. And you've got really rich ecosystem of different tooling, both proprietary and the open source one, that you can use for your Postgres instance. Let's start with very simple and probably most down-to-earth example, which is backup. For instance, using Postgres Wiki, you can Google that Postgres Wiki backup tools. You've got only 11. Only 11 because there is much more, but up here you've got 11. So when you're thinking about installing your Postgres instance on-prem, that would be probably one of the first tools you would need, right? So now you probably need to get familiar with the tools. You need to list the features that all the tools have. You need to search for opinions. You need to ask colleagues which one it's worth to use, which is the most stable, which is still in development. So basically, you need to have a lot of time to do the research, then try by your own to configure the tool, and then of course it's gonna be deployment, configuration, testing, etc. So Azure done it for you. So not only the backup, but other capabilities that are needed for enterprise, and not only enterprises. So for sure, for your Postgres instance, you will be needed HA solution, right? For the production, at least. For development, not necessarily, but for production, HA would be needed. Backup, it's another one. Like you need to tune your instance for the performance, right? Because you probably don't want like to, after one click, you don't want to wait like 15 minutes like for the app to have like the answer, the response back to the end customer. So Azure is making it much more boring because you've got all of it like out of the box. I will show you quickly in a minute, like how you can configure those options. But what I wanted to show you, it's like the main difference between a service, for instance, Postgres service that you are deploying on-prem versus on IaaS, so it means on VM in the cloud, or if you are using the PaaS service. So basically, if you are like having your instance on-prem, you need to first buy some hardware, maybe do some virtualization, maybe not. Some databases are just working on the physical instance. You need to have some kind of OS and file system. So you need to choose it really. When I was working as a consultant, the choosing like the right file system, and actually you can choose other file system for the main data directory and other for the walls, so the transaction logs, and you also sometimes like tune those file systems, and you are tuning also operating system to have like the maximum performance out of the machine that Postgres is deployed on. So then you need to provision and deploy your database. You need to find and decide and configure the tools that you want to use for stuff like HA, for backups, maybe for auditing. Then, of course, you starting to work with your application and data, right? On the IaaS, obviously, if you've got VM from the cloud, you don't need to at least buy the hardware. You don't need to set up virtualization because you've got it already. But the rest is like on your side. With the PaaS, your life is much easier. Because all the stuff like choosing the OS, like patching the OS, because you probably don't want to have like a buggy old version of Ubuntu, for instance, right? Then like also the HR backups, all of that you've got out of the box from the Postgres PaaS service. So you do worry only about your application and you do worry about your data. And on top of that, of course, we've got some additional cool tools like the intelligent security or the intelligent performance. So what option do we have if you decide to go to the Azure PaaS? So just to not make your life any easier, we've got four options for now. I will be focusing on the flexible server and on the hyperscale version, because single server, it's the version that is already mature. But the new version, you might think of flexible server as the new version of it, of single server. That will be like next generation of the single server. Okay, let's show me, because I was saying, right, it's all the stuff, it's so easy and straightforward. So let me show you that. So when you are creating a new resource from the Azure portal, you're going to the databases and you've got this option, Azure Database for Postgres. What you see up here, as I said, you've got 4 deployment options. The first one, the flexible server, it's the new generation on one single node Postgres. So single server is the old generation and the flexible server is the new generation of single node Postgres. So let's create the flex. Okay, let's create some resource group. So this is for those of you that are not familiar with the Azure. This is kind of a placeholder for your resources. some name, right? Some name. And then let's choose the region that I want to have my instance in. Yeah, let's stay with the production, but as you see, you can choose between those three options. So small or medium size production, production large size, and development. And based on that, like, you will have another configuration options. So let's stay with that one, and let's go to the configuration. Good news, I will show you that at the end, that if you want to test flexible server, you can have like the burstable option. So the first one, this one that I've just chosen, for free for the whole year. You need to check like what are because there are two things that you need to remember. Like, if you want to have flexible server for free, the first one will be like that it needs to be burst stable. The second one, it's like the maximum storage limit, it's 32 gigabytes. So once you go above that, like, you will be paying. But with this database, you can test out like for a year for free. So let's go up here. You are choosing like the size. So of course that will be just the initial size of your instance, because that's the PaaS service, that's the cloud, right? So it's pretty easy to scale up and scale out also with the cytos option. But with the flex, like, it's really easy to scale up. So you can increase the number of vCores and the memory, which goes together with the vCores. And then you're choosing how much storage do you need. And as you see, also the storage size is dependent on the IOPS that you can have. So sometimes you don't need like that many storage, because your database is, for instance, 100 gigabytes, but you want to have a bit more IOPS, so you are increasing the storage. And this is the real magic. I will show you the architecture of the HA, like on the separate slide. But basically, this one checkbox, that was from the time I was working as consultant, that was like a couple of weeks of my work. Because like setting up the HA together with the testing, it's not an easy task to do. So basically in Azure, you've got just one checkbox, and as you see, the price, it's doubled, right? Because in result, you will have like two separate Postgres instances connected together with the native Postgres synchronous replication. The next thing is the backup. So you don't need to like do the whole research about different backup tools and the options that they have. You just have a slider, and you can choose between 7 up to 35 days. And this is the backup retention period, is also the time that determines how far you can go back in time. I mean, how far, if something like someone will drop tables, something will happen, how far you can go back. So if you've got the minimum one, you can always go like -7 days. If you've got 35 days, then you can always like go back up to 35 days and restore your database to the point in time you wish, right? Another feature that is in the preview, this is a geo-redundant backup. So in case like the whole instance, like the whole region will go down, you can restore your database from the copy that you store in completely different paired region. Okay, let's save those. And of course, you can choose the Postgres version. Now it's 13. We are waiting for 14 to be there in the flex. But the good news that in cytos we already have 14. And the AZ choose. So you can choose in which AZ within a region your instance should be in, because maybe you've got apps deployed in this AZ, right? So that's gonna be also your database will be within the same AZ. Okay, and that's just admin username and your password. Now you can decide if you want to have like public access, probably not for the production users, and or the private VNet integration access. So you can restrict also, if you've got public access, you can restrict the access to the database itself to particular IPs or the ranges. Up here, you've got like completely new VNet, and like within this VNet, you've got your Postgres instance. Another thing that you've got out of the box, it's TLS communication. So out of the box, you will be connecting to your Postgres instance that has SSL enabled. Tags, which is good practice, and that will be it. So basically, you're clicking create, and you will create a completely new instance, at this time in the North Europe region. So hopefully you find it easy and straightforward, even if you don't have like any previous experience with Postgres. Okay, let's go to the slide, because I said that I will show you the architecture that is underneath the HI setup. So let me do that. Okay, so if you're choosing just to have a single, let me close this window. So if you're choosing, sorry for that, to have like an instance without HA, you will have just a single Linux VM, actually Ubuntu VM, on which you've got Postgres installed. And you will have also, as you see, premium storage and the backup storage, which is always like in 3 copies. Once you will enable the HA, what will happen underneath, it's like another instance of Postgres in another AZ will be created, and those two will be connected together with Postgres synchronous replication. Synchronous means that if you've got like transaction from transaction on one instance, then this transaction needs to be acknowledged by the second instance in order to be committed. So the client will see it committed only when it will be acknowledged by both or more, in this case, both nodes. Okay, so it means in case of the failover, you will not lose any data, right? Because like the data are exactly the same on both instances. Okay, the tool that is used to make this happen, it's called PG Auto Failover. It's again the open source tool that you can have absolutely for free, and that's the tool that we are using to orchestrate like the HA, like together with the health check and the failover if something would happen. Okay. After the failover, of course, we've got like the standby that is created again in the old AZ, and again, like the synchronous replication is starting to work, synchronizing the data between those two instances. Yeah, another option that I wanted like to mention, it's the forced failover. So with the Flex, you can also check how long the failover will take. You can check how your app will behave, right? Like after the failover, if there's gonna be no problem, or you can have even planned failover if you need it. Okay, this is probably my favorite feature in the flexible server. This is PG Bouncer. For those of you that never heard of the PG Bouncer, Postgres doesn't have like any connection pooling built in the core. So as I said, the Postgres core is really small and neat, and there is like a long discussion in the Postgres community about if include PG Bouncer to the Postgres core or not, and it's still not included. The reasoning behind that is that many people do use application level connection pooler, but on the Azure you can have PG Bouncer just again like by a simple click. So you just need to enable PG Bouncer, as you see up here. Like it's default false, but if you go through, then you will have the PG Bouncer that is on the same VM as your flexible server. So there is no additional hop. Because sometimes, like if you've got like the older version of the Postgres on Azure, which is single server, most of our customers do have like additional VM that is in front of the server, and then you've got additional network hop between those two, right? And also you need to manage PG Bouncer, you need to manage the OS version, right, etc. So now it's included, and you can use it if you need it. And the most systems do require something like PG Badger. Of course, if you are not using the application level connection pooler. Okay. So that was about the single node Postgres, the deployment that we do have. So flexible server, it's still in preview, but we expect to be G8 really soon. So that's the new generation of single node Postgres. But what will happen if your data will grow? Like will grow to 1 terabyte, and for 5 terabytes, then 50, right? Then like with those data amounts, I'm thinking about 50, 100 terabytes, probably no single node database can handle that. So we've got another deployment option that is absolutely capable of handling large amount of data. And this is actually my favorite use case because that's the internal one. So in Redmond, we've got this huge telemetry database that is used to store the telemetry information from all the devices around the world. So for instance, if you've got like Windows Update, then Microsoft team wants to know, for instance, how long the start button icon will be rendered, right? So this is like example of the telemetry metric that is sent over to Redmond. And yes, this can be disabled. Of course, it can be disabled if you don't want to send this telemetry. But of course, those information is super useful for the development team and all the people working on the Windows system. So as you might expect, there is pretty few Windows devices out there, right? So the database size is like, last time I checked, it's not 1.5 petabytes, but it's more like around 2 petabytes already, and still like the response time, like for the most of the queries, as you see, 75% of them is like under 200 milliseconds. So pretty impressive with this volume of the data. So what actually is cytos? So cytos is actually what we call extension to Postgres. As I said at the beginning, like you've got thousands of extensions out there. So basically, extension, you can think of like the library, like some piece of the code that you can add to the Postgres core and make it, for instance, scalable horizontally, or you can add some functionalities like additional indexes, additional functions, for instance, for checking the length of the words, like, sorry, not length of the words, but the distance. That's like some linguistic theory that I did a couple of years ago. So basically, you've got a bunch of these different extension of different kinds, and cytos is one of them. But on Azure, you will see cytos as a different deployment option, because simply it has totally different architecture than the single node Postgres. And this is open source extension, as by the way, all the Postgres deployment option that we have. So we are not trying to reinvent the wheel. We are taking this rock solid, reliable database, and we just package it like with backup, with DHA, with all the services that you see in the Azure, but the core of the database stays the same as the community one. So this is like our big commitment to the open source world, and also like the cytos. This will stay open source as well. Okay, so like a quick look at the architecture. So cytos cluster do consist of one coordinator node and 2 up to 100 worker nodes. And what's the coordinator node? So coordinator node is Postgres instance that stores all the metadata of the cluster. On the worker nodes, the actual data are stored. So so let's start from like some technologies. What is shard? Because cytos is the extension that allows you to shard your database, allows you to horizontally partition your database, right? So it's doing that by creating shards. So let's imagine you've got like one huge table, like, okay, maybe not with the concrete sizes, maybe like, let's say, huge, and you are dividing it into smaller pieces. By default, it's gonna be 32 pieces, 32 shards, and those shards you are placing on the worker nodes. Let's say you've got 32 shards and you've got 4 worker nodes. So those worker nodes that you see up here. So on each one, it's going to be 8 shards of this table, right? And the coordinator has got the knowledge where the particular data do reside. Okay, so once the application will query the database, will query the coordinator, then the coordinator will be able to know, to localize the concrete data that the query is about. In the Azure portal, you can have up to 20. If you want to have more than 20 worker node, then you need to file the ticket to the support, and you can have then more than 20, like 50 up to 100, as I said. Okay, and what is important to mention, also, like each of the worker node, also coordinator, all of that are Postgres instances. So you've got many Postgres instances on these separate worker nodes. Okay, how this works, because when you think about like a sharded database, that scalable databases, you probably have like a NoSQL, some examples of NoSQL databases in mind, right? So this is not exactly it. It's like if you want to use another buzzword, that would be NewSQL. And NewSQL, it's the term that contains like both scalability, but also like some of the ACID guarantees, which NoSQL, let's say, has got really loosely ACID guarantees. So cytos is leveraging two-phase commit protocol, so the prepared transactions. So you can be sure about like your committed transactions, your committed data. And like the brain of the whole operation is, of course, the coordinator node. What is also important to mention, that your application does not need to know that it's dealing with the cluster, so cluster of Postgres actually. Your application is just connecting to the coordinator node, and like coordinator node is doing all the logic for you and for the application. You might know some older solution like PL proxy, when like the enable like to leverage the clusters and all the VMs, you needed to make the app aware of the cluster nodes. That's not the case up here. And since like we've got the like 2 days until Black Friday, I believe, so let's talk about scaling up. So I kind of think that most of you are familiar with scaling up, not necessarily with scaling out with the Postgres, right? So luckily, we've got the shard rebalancer in the PaaS service. What it means like, for instance, today or tomorrow, if you've got the cytos implementation, probably might be a good idea to add, for instance, two additional nodes to handle the load that will come in the Black Friday. And this is done online, which means like once you want like to once you want to make your cluster bigger, you're just adding additional node and doing the rebalancing. And what is happening underneath, Postgres is using cytos cluster. Actually, it's using the Postgres native logical this time, not physical replication, like to move the data. And once the process is done, then it's going to be changing the metadata on the coordinator node. And since then, you will be able like to make use of all the compute that and the storage that you have on your cytos cluster. Okay, so what I wanted like to add, this is the free tier that I encourage you to try out. It's absolutely for free, and as you see, it's got some limitations, but this is 32 gigabyte storage and 750 hours of burstable instance. And if you keep those limits, like it's totally free, it's great for testing purposes. You can run performance testing. You can run even small apps on top of it. So happy to. Yeah, so that would be it. I'm happy to answer all the questions you might have, and some additional resources. There is like a generic email if you would have any questions about flexible servers, single servers, cytos, then feel free to write to this email, Ask Azure DB for Postgres. You will have all the answers. You've got also the feedback forum, and you've got some more resources like blog to use. If your use case is the Oracle migration, then those are the hands-on lab, like how to migrate your Oracle to Postgres PaaS on Azure. And yeah, maybe Raf, you probably want to hand over, or we're gonna go with the questions if there are any.
So we do have a couple of questions, and I'm going to actually display them on the screen. I will be in the background if you need me, but they will be displayed on the screen. Okay.
Okay. Okay. What's new with Postgres 14? It's worth the upgrade. It's always worth to upgrade, like even if you're not interested in the new features, because in the 14 actually there is not many new features. Like it's more like the, let's say, performance version, for sure not that many. It was in 10. You will have for sure like the better out of the box performance, that's for sure. And what's also great, like cytos already has like Postgres 14, and it was applied, it was added to the engine like one day after community released it, so that's very fast. It's another question. Is it difficult to change from single server to flexible server if I have single server deployed already? So because like in the flexible server, the architecture was changed from the single server, it's not that easy. Of course, you've got actually two options. So one option would be to use classic pgdump, pgrestore. Another one, we've got a tool that might help you to go through the process if your database is bigger. For instance, we might help you with the tool. I can ping you with the proper link later on. When Postgres is recommended over MySQL, what's the difference? Those are like two different database engines, right? Probably I'm not the best person to address that because I'm working with Postgres only for like 10 years. So for me, the answer would be always. Maybe I will, I will restrain from answering this one. But for sure, like for the financial purposes, like I would go with Postgres, like for 100%. Yeah. Of days to have enough backup without spending. How can I know what the correct balance for my SaaS? You have like the Azure calculator, so I believe that's the best way I like to calculate the price of the backup. And also, like for the instance, you will see like the, how the price will multiply when you add the HA option. You will see a lot of the details, and also like good tip, like probably like with the reservations, you may save a lot.
That's great. Thank you so much, Alicia. I think these are all the questions from our audience today. Did you have? There was another slide. If you go next, that people can actually get Azure Heroes badges. So if they scan this QR code, they can get like Azure Hero like stickers, and obviously they can display that in their profile picture, or you can actually display that anywhere you'd like, basically. Please scan the QR code in order to get the Azure Hero badge. I think that's it. If there's anything you would like to add, Pablo, to the event?
No, just thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much, Alicia, for sharing your expertise on the subject today. So as you've seen, if you want to contact Alicia, or if you want to ask questions about anything, you can contact us at SaaS/academy@microsoft.com. And you can also watch this and many other webinars on demand on our SaaS Academy page. So thank you very much. You'll see upcoming webinars there as well. And that's about it. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks so much, Alicia, for being here with us.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for watching.
Amazing.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks.